Hello. Today I'm starting an experiment. For the last few months I've had this problem. I'll wake up around 7 a.m., my alarm will go off, I'll hit snooze a couple times, but then I will check my phone and then I'll just be endlessly scrolling for sometimes a full hour before I get out of bed. So I figured I'd try something new and motivate myself with something I care a lot about, which is coffee. Enter this contraption. This is a coffee alarm clock. And for the next 18 days, I'll be using it to break my habit of sitting on my phone in bed. Why 18 days? Well, that's how long Google told me it takes to break a habit. But before I get into that, let me tell you a little about this thing. For something that looks like a science experiment, it's actually pretty simple. See, there's a regular old alarm clock on the bottom. You set that alarm for whatever time you'd like to wake up in the morning. And that triggers the water to heat. Once that water is hot enough, it's forced through this tube, into the shower head, over your coffee, and into your cup. Simple. It feels like overkill, but I'm also watching YouTube Shorts for an hour before I start my day. So maybe this is exactly what I need to force myself to get out of bed in the mornings. Contrary to what this lab coat and goggles might have you think, I'm not actually a scientist. So this experiment isn't going to be super scientific. I'm not looking to optimize my life in some Andrew Huberman, stare at the sun and drink coffee 90 minutes after you wake up kind of way.
I wake up in the morning, go outside, stare directly into the sun. It's not bright enough. Sometimes it can be painful to look at, photons in your eyes.
My goal with this is to simply not spend time on my phone immediately after I wake up, and mostly get me to stop watching horrible YouTube Shorts. So for the remainder of the 18 days, every evening I will be placing my phone, which is here, over on my couch plugged into the wall, so that I don't look at it once I go to bed. And with that, let's set up the alarm clock. This is my bedroom. This is where the magic happens. I've already plugged in our cord to the wall here, so now we're just going to plug it into our coffee alarm clock and get this bad boy set up. Okay, so we're all plugged in, and I'm just gonna peel off this little sticker, flip it on. It's already beeping. Okay, so it says it's 12, it is not 12. How do I set the alarm clock? Oh, there's some stuff over here. Maybe I should probably read the instructions. Okay, so I watched the tutorial, got the clock set and the alarm set, and I think we're all good. I'm gonna wait until it's a little closer to evening and then put some coffee in this bad boy and water, and I'll update you in the morning.
It worked. I forgot to turn my phone alarm off last night, so it was going off in the living room. So that sucks. So I'm already had to get up out of bed. But I have fresh coffee. Right there. Dude, this thing is so loud. You don't even need the alarm clock part. Literally, you could just have this. Just like hisses while it's heating the water up. It's insane. I thought there was a bomb going off. This thing literally sounds like it's gonna explode when it's brewing coffee. I do like this cup a lot. It's not a great cup of coffee. It feels really weird not having my phone with me. Weirder than I thought. Like I have this urge to check it. Feeling a little more awake now. This coffee's working already.
After finishing my coffee in bed, I got dressed for the day and headed out on my walk with Charlie. I have to say, this is where I noticed a real difference. I felt so much more present and less anxious. Normally on my walks with Charlie, I enjoy them for the first 20 minutes or so, and then I feel this real urge to get back home and start my work day. But today, I felt so much more clear-headed, and I felt like I was noticing and enjoying the world around me a lot more. Instead of thinking about all the posts, videos, and opinions I had just consumed that morning, I heard something else. I could hear my own thoughts again. I started to realize how little time I had alone with my thoughts. Sure, I'm thinking about things all day, but I mean actually being alone with them, without a podcast playing or feeling like text, emails, Slack, or meeting notifications were begging for my attention. All of this coming from the incredibly needy rectangle in my pocket. The freedom I felt after one day of having my phone outside my room was shocking. The irony of this is that I came to this realization while working on a video that I'll put on the internet, which just adds to the never-ending pile of content that must be consumed. Am I just making this problem worse for somebody else, or is talking about it the only way that I can help? For all I know, you watching this video right now might be stuck to your screen, feeling the exact same thing that I'm trying to escape with this experiment. On top of all of that, the only reason I even decided to make this video was an excuse to talk about some dumb, overpriced product that no one needs and no one should buy. We're just stuck in this bullshit system built to benefit somebody else, running on a never-ending hamster wheel caused by capitalist structures we didn't choose and we can't escape. Hang on, why the fuck did I make this video? Oh yeah, coffee alarm clock.
Morning, good morning. Good morning. Alright, it's day 4 of using this thing. This feels like more like a slow morning sort of device to me. You sit in bed, you drink your coffee, read your book. You know, you take your time. I do like the not having my phone in my room though. That part has been 10 out of 10. The coffee bit, less great. I don't think I've ever thought to myself, man, I need a cup of coffee before I've brushed my teeth.
I'd been using this thing for about a week now, and while I definitely wasn't convinced it was worth buying, I do have to admit I had some pretty lovely mornings with it.
I feel like I'm learning how to do this coffee alarm clock thing right. Got a book, recommendation from a friend, and a cup of coffee.
Wow, look at him. So calm, peaceful. He has no idea what's coming next. But before I show you that, I gotta plug something real quick. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the video. I just wanted to take a quick second to tell you about my business, Charlie's Coffee Co., named after Charlie here. See, my dream is to open a coffee shop one day, but that takes a lot of time and money, and honestly, money that I don't have. So rather than wait around for hundreds of thousands of dollars to fall into my lap, I decided to do what I can now, which is roasting coffee for people like you watching these videos. So if that sounds interesting to you, the best way you can support me is through Patreon. For 20 bucks a month, I'll roast and ship you a bag of coffee each month, and you'll also get access to stuff like our Discord, which at this point is just me, so if you want to chat on Discord, hopefully we can build a community there. We can talk about coffee stuff, roasting, not coffee stuff, whatever. And honestly, it's just me doing all of this, so if you want to get on the ground floor and help be a founding member of this community, there's really never been a better time to do so. As a Patreon member, you'll also get early access to new coffees I get in before they go live for others to purchase. And if you subscribe this month only, I'm gonna throw in a little bonus for you that I'll talk about at the end of the video. But if subscriptions aren't your thing, that's totally cool. You can still purchase our coffee, mugs, and other cool stuff at charliescoffeecompany.com. So with that, let's get back to the video. God damn, that's good.
Good morning. You might be asking yourself, why are you not in bed? Like you usually are, and telling us good morning. Well, that's because this morning I forgot to put the coffee cup under the thing, so it just brewed all over my nightstand, which wasn't great. So anyway, now we're here. I also figured this was a great opportunity to update you on how I feel about this thing after living with it for a little over a week or so.
Let's talk pros and cons. I don't have a whiteboard, so I figured I'd just use my closet door and hope that this comes off. I think it will. If not, I guess that's what security deposits are for. Okay, so we'll start off with pros. First of all, design and build quality. It doesn't feel like a flimsy, plasticky gadget. It feels very much solid. It doesn't feel like it's gonna break. It works. And I really like the specifically the switch that's like snooze and reset the alarm. Incredible. More switches like that. Everybody's trying to kind of replicate, I feel like, this sort of like tactile feeling, a lot of haptic feedback on phones and, you know, tech these days, but like nothing is quite as good as like a physical switch or a button that just just hits in a way that I can't describe. It's also pretty small, which I think is ideal for a nightstand. I was expecting it to be way bigger. I think it fit on just about most nightstands. Pro number 2, the metal filter that comes with the alarm clock. I'm not a huge fan of metal filters in general, but I think that this is a really good solution to making it usable for everybody versus making people buy specific filters. What I've ended up doing most mornings now is I cut like a little V60 filter and just cut the top off of it so that it fits inside there because it's small. And I use that inside the metal filter, and that makes for a much better tasting cup of coffee. Pro number 3, the cup size. It's not like a full 12 or even an 8-ounce cup. It's somewhere between 6 and 7 ounces if you fill the water thing to the max level. This is the perfect size cup of coffee for this use case, I think. First thing in the morning, you don't want like a giant cup of coffee. It also, like, I can't drink it fast enough that early in the morning. So a smaller cup of coffee is actually a perfect fit for this. And I think it also helps keep the size of the actual coffee alarm clock down. All right, and lastly, the brew delay. This is like a little dial that you can do up or down, so you can have it start brewing a few minutes before your alarm or a few minutes after your alarm or right on time with your alarm. What I found is that I've been tweaking this kind of throughout the week, and I found that I've kind of settled on 15 minutes after my alarm goes off. This gives me enough time to kind of brush my teeth, take a quick shower, or just like get myself in a spot where I'm like ready to drink a cup of coffee, versus having it kind of brew right away with the alarm and then the coffee's cold by the time I'm like ready to drink. Let's move on to the cons. Obviously, I've talked about this. The noise. Good fucking God. It's so loud. And it's like a really, like the hissing noise it makes when the water is heating up. It's just very unpleasant. It's not great. I have found that it's less of an issue now that I'm using the brew delay. So I'm usually in the bathroom brushing my teeth or showering while it's brewing versus it literally like hissing and doing that big noise right next to my ear first thing in the morning. Con number 2, price. It's crazy expensive. Right now it's listed on their website as being $450. Yeah, so I kind of skipped over that part on purpose earlier, partially because I wanted to experience this thing for myself before I told you it was dumb and overpriced, but mostly because I'm embarrassed and I spent that amount of money on it for this video, and I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, here's a super solid coffee setup that you can get for that same amount of money, actually cheaper, and it includes coffee. So anyway, don't buy this and spend your money elsewhere. And con number 3 is that there's not really like a coffee warmer. So this has happened to me a few times throughout the week where it will brew and then I'll kind of forget about it, or I'll be doing something else and then I'll be like, oh, my coffee's there and I don't want it to get cold. And by the time I get to it, it's already kind of cold. I've been drinking more cold coffee from this than I anticipated. I feel like at this price point, it should really incorporate something like this. And lastly, I've just realized throughout the course of this week that I don't really want coffee in bed. I've never drank coffee in bed before doing this, so didn't know what to expect, but it's not for me. What I enjoyed it was, kind of like reading early on a weekend morning, and having a cup of coffee, taking a slow morning, reading a book, sipping on the coffee in bed. It was nice, but more of like a one-off kind of thing than really like an everyday sort of use case for me personally. I much prefer just like drinking coffee in my kitchen in the morning or on my walk with Charlie. And that concludes pros and cons. I had to head out of town for a work trip for my 9-to-5 job the next couple of days, so I obviously put this whole coffee alarm clock experiment on hold. I wasn't going to take this giant, expensive, fragile coffee alarm clock that, let's be real, kind of looks like a bomb through the airport. Obviously, I was going to do the dumb, unnecessary thing for your entertainment. This is a YouTube video. I will say I was pretty nervous bringing this thing through TSA, and my bag definitely got pulled, but the good news is I caught this guy on camera. Spent the next few days busy with lots of work stuff, so I didn't film much, but I can tell you that this thing comes in handy when you're a little hungover from hanging out with your coworkers all night.
And hungover.
I may not have been in love with this thing, but I can definitely see how it can be nice and even helpful in certain circumstances. I would say overall things were going pretty well. That is until something unexpected happened. See, on my flight home, the airline had run out of overhead bin space, so they asked me to check my bag at the gate. I immediately knew this thing was not going to make it back unscathed. I wrapped all the pieces separately in old dish towels, but I knew this wasn't going to be enough. When I got home, I started unwrapping the pieces and immediately found that the glass tube had completely shattered. If I'm honest with myself, I was a little excited to have an excuse to end this experiment a little bit early. As much as I had enjoyed not having my phone in my bedroom and using it as my alarm clock, I was definitely getting a little bit tired of fiddling with this thing every night. There were definitely some mornings of bliss, drinking some coffee in bed, reading a book, and cuddling with Charlie. More often than not, there were some issues I ran into with this thing fitting into my morning routine. And honestly, it just had me feeling like I was living in an episode of The Jetsons. For those of you who don't know, The Jetsons is an old cartoon where people live in the sky, drive flying cars, eat a pill for breakfast, and can get dressed and have their hair done with the push of a button. But one of the common themes of The Jetsons is that these cool, crazy inventions are always going a little bit wrong. Whether it's George Jetson pushing the wrong button to get his wife's hair and clothes put on him,
Okay, Henry, let's go.
not cooking the food when they're in the kitchen,
Get it.
George, this food isn't cooked.
Pop didn't set the timer.
Alroy.
getting burnt toast in their breakfast pill,
Ham, eggs, toast, coffee.
Delicious. You burned the toast again.
a runaway floor mop,
Look out!
Hey, cut it out.
or somehow still having traffic when you have flying cars.
When you look at that traffic, the skyway is jammed.
That's kind of how it feels to live with this thing. It may be working perfectly fine, but I seem to always have issues when I'm using it. The two scenarios that happened to me most was I would either fall back asleep after my alarm went off and then wake up and have a cold cup of coffee next to me, or get up, shower, get ready for the day, come back, and then have a cold cup of coffee waiting for me. There were also a few nights where I got everything set up, filled the thing with water, ground coffee, put it all in there, only to forget to push the brew button in the morning, which is real annoying because there's no brew button once you wake up. You have to reset the alarm entirely to be able to brew a cup of coffee. And embarrassingly enough, there was one morning when I forgot to put a cup underneath the brewer entirely, and coffee just went all over the alarm clock and my nightstand. Obviously, these are user errors on my end. It's not the fault of the people who made the thing to remind me to put a cup under it. That's just like a no-brainer. But I do think it highlights something that I want to talk about, which is automation and convenience. We're all strapped for time in the morning, so anything that can make things go a little bit faster or smoother is super helpful for a lot of people. So we automate things. And I have two problems with that. Number one, it removes you from that process. See, we're already very removed from the coffee process. You may not know this, but coffee grows on a plant, which actually is the seed of that plant that lives inside the cherry. And we roast that seed and grind it up and turn it into coffee. And getting a plastic cup full of coffee grounds, putting it in a machine, pressing a button, and getting coffee out only further removes you from that process. Not to mention that like probably microplastics, you're running hot water through like a plastic thing, it can't be good for you. Getting a little carried away, sorry. The second problem I have with that is convenience for convenience sake takes the joy out of things. Let's go back to the Jetsons for an example. When the family takes their morning breakfast pill, this sounds really great in theory, and honestly it's something that I've said I wanted before. You're in a rush to get out the door in the morning and you want a bite to eat, but you don't have time to make a full breakfast for your busy day ahead. So let's imagine the best case scenario and assume that you get all of the taste and nutrients of a home-cooked meal in this breakfast pill. You still don't get to smell the food on the stove, hear the crackle of the bacon in the pan, feel the crunch of the toast in your mouth, or enjoy the warmth of the freshly cooked meal in your body. By taking convenience to the extreme, you lose a lot of joy in the process. Now look, I don't think the people who made this thing are bad people or that they even made a bad product here. In fact, I resonate a lot with what they as a company are all about. To quote their site, how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. So we re-envision products for an enjoyable experience and intended purpose. for people that value design, the environment, and the power of experience. And there's no question I've had a couple of enjoyable experiences with this product that they created. The problem is this product eliminates my favorite ritual of the day, which is making coffee. For me, making coffee is the most still time in the day. There's no podcast playing, there's no messages coming in, there's no meetings to attend. It's just pure stillness. And I look forward to that every single day. It helps me feel grounded. It's my meditation. Now you could argue that you're just swapping a morning routine for an evening routine. And if you use a regular old coffee pot, that may be true. But if you make a pour over in the mornings like I do, it's really not a comparable experience in the slightest. Alright, it's pretty clear how I feel about this thing at this point, so let's jump to the more important question, which is, did my experiment work? Actually, yes, it did. Well, kind of. When the conditions were right, this experiment was a real joy for me, and I really felt like I got my brain back from honestly day one. Sitting in bed with Charlie, drinking a cup of coffee, and enjoying a nice book was so much better than scrolling endlessly on my phone for hours. And honestly, I didn't miss having my phone in my room at all. But I'm sad to say that after that tube broke on my trip, I unfortunately went back to my old ways pretty much immediately. While I can't recommend this product specifically, what I can recommend is that you try this experiment for yourself. I found it to be very freeing as someone who is a little bit too overly attached to their phone going into this. But instead of dropping 500 bones on one of these bad boys, just get one. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Oh, I almost forgot, the surprise for Patreon subscribers this month is I'm going to be giving this away to one of you. So make sure you subscribe. I will give you some coffee and you'll potentially get this bad boy because I certainly don't want it and I don't have room for it. So it's going to one of you and hopefully you'll enjoy it more than I do. And that's it. Okay, thanks so much for watching. Okay, bye.
I run the scene that light up your face. I run the place. I run the space. I run the scene.